The first Joe Dispenza event I did was Toronto in the fall. And previous to that, my whole life I had been identified as I'm a freezing cold person, to the point where I have like this crazy blanket collection. I can never have enough blankets. Just there's a lot that I wouldn't do in my life because I was too cold. I'd be too cold. And I went to the event, and probably on day 3, and I felt like it was to me it felt like a meat locker in there. It was very cold. I was very worried, like, how is this gonna, like, am I gonna be okay? Am I gonna be freezing? This kind of. And so probably on day 3, unbeknownst to me, I don't know how I didn't recognize this, but I'm sitting there, and the woman next to me says, she's like, how are you not freezing right now? And I was wearing pretty much, this has been my Joe Dispenza outfit combo, is the, no sleeve tank top, and I had no shoes or socks on. And I had to take a moment because she looks at me, and I was like, yeah, I guess I'm not, because I'm not cold, right? And so, but she was like mirroring it to me. Like I felt like she was there to make me see this thing. And so I was like, I'm not cold. That's right. And so it set in motion this kind of like, almost like a surreal, dreamlike sequence where I knew I had to do something to sort of prove it or sort of absorb it home. So I made a decision to, Toronto was on the lakefront there. It was like city on the lakefront. So I was like, if I'm really one of those people, the biggest step for me would be, I was always like, I'm never going to jump into a cold lake. I'm from Seattle. I'm never going to go into the sound there. It's way too cold for me. I'll freeze. So on lunch break, right after that lecture, I went to the concierge because I had in my head suddenly this image of me, if I'm really that person, to run off the dock and just like jump into the water and to not care because I'm not a cold person. So I went to the concierge. I'm like, where can I jump into the water? And he's like, you got to take a taxi, a water taxi across the thing. And I could feel that the drop, and I'm like, I can't just give up and say, well, I can't do this. So I walked along the waterfront, and all along the waterfront there, it's just dock and then water, but it's not like a swimming friendly thing. In fact, there's chains that say do not swim, do not jump in, do not swim. There's police boats going all over the place. So I'm like, oh, this is good. This is a really good initiation. Am I this? So I walked along trying to find like the perfect spot, and how could I get back in, because it was quite a thing. So I found a ladder, but it's like this rusty old ladder that looked like maybe it was from the Titanic or something. And I went over to the park bench where a guy was sitting, and I took off my sweatpants and I took off my shoes and socks, and he's watching me, and I'm like, I'll be back, and I walk over to the chain, and I go over the chain onto this rusty barrel thing, and I just actually I've made sure a police boat had gone by, and so I jump in, and it was just fantastic. It was like just delicious. And so these people are like on the side going like, oh, like, how's the water? So I swim around a bit, I get out, I've got just a t-shirt that's wet and these tights or whatever, and I walk over to the guy and sit down, and I start, he's like, hey, how's the water? And I'm like, it was amazing. And so I just start talking to the guy, like for probably, 20 minutes, and it's breezy out. And I'm like, the whole time, I'm like, I am not cold. And so since that time, people at these subsequent events, especially today, it happened several times, they'll come up to me and they'll continue to say, oh my gosh, aren't you cold? And so that's how I was cured of that, I guess, identity of being freezing all the time. So.
Given the teachings that you've heard this week,
Yeah.
How would you phrase that? What happened to you?
Well, definitely my autonomic nervous system was recalibrated. I came online, and in addition, he talks about the vasopressin, making your blood vessels expand, and my heart opening, like now anymore, like when I give hugs, I just feel my heart is beating so much that it's like, whoa. And so I know that like there's like life coursing back through me again. And so my fight or flight has been reset in such a profound way, because that was a very constricting belief. I know that I was born blue, and so I had to be put under a heat lamp. And so I think that that was an identity from the beginning that I had imprinted in my body to constrict. And once the reset happened, where I was no longer in fight or flight in that way, I just could relax, my veins relaxed, and and it's probably no coincidence that you get a warm feeling in your heart, and then it like carries out through your body. So that would be my take on it.